What's going on, Sofa Squad? If you're after a really nice melee build, or melee, however you'd like to pronounce it, then stay tuned. That's coming up next.
Pew, 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 pew. Pew, 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 pew. Whee.
Welcome back, guys and girls. So yeah, I've been tweaking things, moving a few bits around, having a little playthrough, and I've come up with another build guide. And this one is a really nice one because it kind of allows you to play around with your skill points and put them where you're lacking. So if you're missing out on some of those non-combat skills, you can always chuck them anywhere you need and it can kind of fill out your squad. Now this is the guy we're actually using today, and his name is Warpath. Now, I think this is very likely one of my favourite looking characters, and it was actually given to me by a friend. He created the character, he made him, I've kind of just tweaked him a little bit because we did him round about, I'd say, quite early game to be perfectly honest, and it was before we knew exactly what we were doing, so some skill points were in kind of a little bit of the wrong places. So I've had a little tweak around, and I'd just like to say thanks to Silk and Cheese, as this is the guy we're going to be using. And just in case you're wondering, Silk and Cheese is not actually his real name. He didn't have parents that disliked him. He's just got that as a gamer tag. If you have a little look here, this guy is all about doing kind of melee damage, like I was saying. So if you have a little look over here, the main thing you'll want on this dude is exoskeleton, exoskeleton, exoskeleton. These three things here, as well as making him look absolutely amazing. That's definitely one of the best looking armours in the game. If you have a little look, it also puts up his melee damage. So 15%, 35 altogether with that, and 50% altogether with the 3-piece. If you have a little look as well, the armour on it is also really nice. 27, 13 and 13. This is one of the best armour sets in the game, and probably is the best for melee. Now down here I've chucked on Star of Bravery. Now I've used this on quite a few of my builds, so obviously if you've got another character, just chuck on whatever you want with this guy. Anything that kind of ups his damage as such, or ups his movement, any of those will still work. What you'll want over here, and this is probably one of the most integral bits, the chainsaw sword. This weapon is amazing, really good for damaging enemies. And even on single target where you're hitting it a few times, it works really well. Just over here you've got the blunt weapon, which is the hydraulic hammer. Again, if you want to whack-a-mole something with this, it's gonna do the job. It's really tasty, works really well. If you've got a single target thing where you think you're not going to be able to kill it because you're not quite doing enough damage, then I've chucked on this because you drink it and it gives you 25% extra melee damage. I've got to admit I don't use it too often, but if you did want to, you very well could. But as you look, it's kind of got a negative effect of -2 AP. Just over here, kind of the little mandatory thing on most things, a med hypo just to heal yourself. Right, so what kind of attributes? What we're using this guy for, kind of literally like the quirk says, a serial killer. You want him to get around the board or the map as such and just be able to either pick up the kills where they've got a little bit of health left, or just get to the back of the map, have a little run around, pretty much get to those hard to get spots. So what we've done, we've put his coordination all the way up, his strength all the way up, because this will just help him stay alive. If you have a look, he's got conditioning of 460 for his health. That's massive. He's not going to get killed anytime soon, unless you're running out to the middle of the map saying shoot me now, I'm free. Over here, now this is up to you. I've put his speed all the way up because I liked it where it's kind of it was kind of allowing me to get further on the board and then still hit people. If you wanted to put this down a little bit early game, then you very well could, and put it into intelligence and he'll be doing a bit more crit damage. But with myself, I think this is about a little way over halfway in the game, and I think this build's perfect for now, and from here I would put every point into intelligence, and then after that into luck, to try and get a little bit of those mega crits. Now like I was saying, the quirk that I've actually chosen down here is serial killer. Gain free AP for each kill in combat. Basically, you're going to get free AP once a turn, as long as you're getting those kills. Which, with this guy, you will. If you're not getting them, there's probably a little bit of an issue somewhere with the build, because he should be able to get a kill with how many AP he's got and with the damage he's doing. The background, bar none, I find the best is definitely this. It's just straight up melee damage. So 10% with all of the armour as well, that's 60%. And obviously, like I said, if you wanted to actually use the drunken effect, you would get extra on top of that. Now, this is the really good thing about this character. He's nice and easy to use. He's there just to actually sponge quite a few of the hits, to go out kind of first, get into combat, let your team do what they're going to do, from most of them probably from a little bit of distance, and just to kind of be the focus. Now, what you are going to need, 100% you need 3 in weird science. So it's good to know this before you've kind of spec'd your guy out, because if you don't put anything into weird science, you won't be able to wear this actual armour set. Now, don't worry about that one, that's just from the utility item we've got at the moment. But the other one you'll want, pretty much max out your melee. That won't even really be just to get the perk, it's mainly just because you want all of the added chance that you can for his hit. But if you did want to put it down, you very well could, it is completely up to you. Like I said, you've still got so many points left over, you can now put them into whatever non-combat skills you are lacking out on in your team. So for example, if you're lacking out on sneaky stuff, first aid, lockpicking, you can quite easily chuck it into them. Literally, for this build, the only thing you mainly need, I would say, is melee all the way up, weird science free. Anything above that is your preference. Now, I think if you really wanted to, you could probably get a little bit more damage out of this guy by, if I remember correctly, I made one that had, it was an animal whisperer as such, and when the animal goes down to a certain amount of health, I believe he gets a little bit more damage about him. You don't have to, it's not essential, it's just if you felt that playstyle. For the perks, what you want to do, like I said, chuck everything up the top here. Don't worry too much about this first one, that does not matter in the slightest, but if you can get all 4 of these, that will help you a lot. Then you're coming down to the melee, and I find all of these really good to have, so just chuck all of these on as well. The most vital one probably is this one just here, Pursuit. If you move more than 3 spaces, your next bladed weapon attack has 25% critical chance, plus 100% versus slowed targets. That one's really good because you're going to be using that sword a lot more than the hammer probably. But what you could do, say for example you did want to initiate combat and you've run into the middle of 3 people, put it to your hammer, and this one here, while using a blunt weapon, gain plus 2 armor for every enemy adjacent to you. So if 2, 3, 4 people are going to surround you, you're going to be getting that extra added armor and taking a little bit less damage from them. It's really good. It's good for initiating combat. This one here is also really good, and it's one of the main reasons why you've got 2 melee weapons, plus 0.5 combat speed when you have 2 melee weapons equipped. That's also really good. Like I said, you want your character to kind of just be able to cover the board. He can get to the areas where there's 1 or 2 characters left at the back of the map. He can get pretty much anywhere. He'll be getting double kills. He'll be getting triple kills when you're using your skills and such. This guy is an absolute beast. He's tanky, he can move far, and he can do a good bit of damage. Now, quickly going over the weapon mods, the only main one you want to make sure of is this one just here. And what you'll want to put on it will definitely be this one here, the fiberglass grip. You can get this really early game from the bazaar, so definitely grab this and chuck it on your build. The rest is kind of down to you. I would put on as much damage as possible, and a little bit of penetration always helps. Over here, and like I said on my previous builds, I'm running out of mods. I've made too many builds. Literally, just chuck on whatever makes your character as tanky as possible. That's all you've got to do with this build. You make them so that they can actually take the aggro and the damage, so that the rest of your team can just massacre everything. This guy should be able to hold quite a bit of aggro, and like I said, don't run him into the middle of the field taking on 20 characters, they will still die. But if you put them into a nice bit of cover after getting 2 kills, and they're going to take 2 or 3 hits afterwards, they should be fine, letting the rest of your team do what they've got to do and mop everything up. When you go to the hammer, to be perfectly honest, it's up to you, just chuck on anything that is going to up the damage once again. Right, so like I said, I think this character is definitely worth having in your team. He kind of fills a really good role where he can kind of get into the middle of combat, take a lot of the beats, and still survive most times. You're not going to want to chuck him into the middle of a map taking on everyone, because nothing in this game really survives that way, but he can actually get out quite far, get into a bit of cover, do the damage to things, and still take a few hits about himself. He's a really good tanky melee character. What I'm going to do now, guys and girls, is put on a little bit of gameplay for you, just to kind of show you this guy's role and how he plays out. As always, if you've liked this video, then please drop a like, as it really helps the channel, and why not subscribe and hit that bell icon for regular content. I'll be bringing you all the latest and greatest in all Xbox and soon Xbox Series X content. As always, take care. I'll see you on the next day.